What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? What's up, everyone? Hey guys, just wanted to do a live session today to talk about meditation. So if anyone is watching, feel free to chat. Let me know what you're thinking or up to, and I'd love to kind of discuss more of that with you guys. And hope you guys' weekend is going well. This Sunday, every Sunday, I kind of do a manifestation meditation, and it's been so helpful for me during these times because, the whole aspect of non-doing and less is more is kind of my philosophy in life and lifestyle. So I understand that whenever you want to create anything or manifest anything in your reality, you have to become it. And you do that by changing your state of being and your state of consciousness. But in order to do that, you have to create a change in your reality, in your your energy field. And and for me, meditation is the easiest, most powerful way to do that, because you focus all your energy and intention and attention to the reality that you want to create and experience. And so whenever you meditate, well, especially my meditations, the biggest challenge for everyone is to transcend their ego, their mind, these thoughts that stop you from everything that you want to experience in reality. So for me, meditation has helped me to bypass that. And I use my meditations and my guided meditations to help you to transcend your mind and your ego. So then you can use your imagination to create any experience, any manifestation, and any reality that you want to create. Because the whole science of creation and consciousness is that you have whatever you imagine, whatever you put into your energy field with your consciousness, that has to be more real than the physical. And the only thing stopping you is the body's five senses and the sixth sense called thinking. And so many of us identify with thinking as the real us or coming from us when we are actually receiving those thoughts. We aren't necessarily creating them. So in my meditations, that's what you experience and learn. And I want to just continue to share this knowledge and the power of meditation, because that's really exercising your gifts as consciousness and energy rather than a physical body kind of reacting to everything in its environment. So that's why I really want to continue sharing my passion for meditation, the power of meditation. And the more you do it, the more you create a sense of belief and faith in yourself, which is how you grow and evolve as a spiritual being and a creator. Because if you believe in so many things outside of yourself, in the state of the world and the affairs and everything, and you believe that to be more real than what you're actually capable of, you actually start to forget who you really are and what you're capable of. So with these meditations, it helps to remind yourself of your true self and not the identification with the false self, which is the mind, the ego, and everything outside of itself. And I think that concept has helped me to really be confident in what I want to create and what I want. And the more you do this, the more you also learn that skill and learn to discern what is true for you and what is not. So I think it's a really important practice to have in your toolbox, the exercising of your psychic gifts and practicing your potential in creating by using your imagination, and at least being able to confront all the things that stop you from knowing what you want and knowing what you want to create by being aware of yourself, being aware of the thoughts you're catching and receiving, knowing that they aren't created by you, but something that you are attracting due to your vibration and your frequency and what you constantly are focusing on, whether it be conscious or unconscious. And I think that's important, especially right now, because there's so many things happening to everyone's ego, and it's forcing them to look at the things that they've neglected in themselves, whether it be, I mean, most of it is, the belief and love of self. And so if anything is happening to you that are causing a lot of change or chaos, it's because this energy is forcing yourself to confront the contents of your consciousness, which is all the limiting thoughts and beliefs in your mind that hold you back from loving yourself and believing in yourself and what you're here to do. So if you identify with the mind, it might get a little harder. It might get a little more complicated and a little bit more emotionally disturbing. But if you are able to let go and surrender the mind to silence and to your true self, then you'll hear guidance, and your intuition will only lead you to the path of your joy and happiness. And so I think it's important to let go all these contents of the mind right now, because if you don't, it might get a little bit more painful, might get a little bit more confusing, and just in general, it just would be harder to experience this reality right now without a form of balance and in peace. Inner peace is so important, because it's very easy to get triggered or to feel that like there's things outside of yourself that you can control, but we all are learning to let go of that. And I think that's what's everyone's journey right now, because for me, that's the spiritual journey, is which is represented in so many movies as someone who has to face a villain, which is your mind, your inherited human mind that's full of these programs and lack software that you inherited when we come to this reality. And this is represented in Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. All these big movies are always about this battle of not identifying with the mind and transcending it and leaving it, so then you could have inner peace and basically ascend, then be able to do the things that you're here to do, to create and to manifest. And most of the time, in all my experiences with meditating, is that the mind is the one thing that comes up when you are trying to find your inner peace and inner silence, and just being aware of it like traffic and just observing it and not attaching to it will release a ton of energy that then you can breathe in and out by the power of your heart, which then you can use to focus and direct to create any reality that you want. And then the more and more that you practice and do that, the faster your manifestations happen. And for me, sometimes things happen instantly, or things happen in such a surprising and beautiful way that I couldn't even plan or even imagine until I meet someone that introduces me or inspires me. Because in my energy field, I'm always searching or always intending that every day is going to be an inspiring, and I only hear good news, and I'm always taken care of. That's something I repeat as an intention in my energy field, and so I experience it, and then I'm surprised, or I get surprised, because it's such a general statement that whatever happens to me, I know will fall within that intention. And it takes a lot of focus. You can't just mindly say these things without fully believing it, and that takes practice. um, this art of non-doing is so powerful, and really can remind you of your potential just by focusing the gifts that you already have. There's nothing that you really need outside of you, just besides someone if you need it to help develop your gifts that you already have and to help you attune and focus on the things that you really want. And the more you do that, the more then you understand that, there is no teacher that you need besides your own guidance, your own intuition to help you find the path that makes you the most happy, joyful, and blissful, which is just knowing that you create your reality. Because after you know that and you can disconnect from any fear or any programs of lack, then that's all you'll experience, because in your mind will be full of harmony. And that's the path that I'm on. I feel like I've realized that I had a matrix job or a matrix position of belief systems that kept me into a certain state of consciousness where I wanted either power or I wanted to make things that were pretty and shiny and disposable. And I realized that, I was only creating that because I was feeling disposable. So then I went on this spiritual journey, realizing that I want to create more meaningful content. And so in order to do that, I had to become more meaningful. I had to become more thoughtful and more aware of the things that mean a lot to me. And then that's why you see all this content that I've done in the past, I guess, like 7 years, with only knowledge to empower you to understand this reality, how you create your own reality, the nature of reality, and the things that are happening right now to help people, become aware of the things that you neglect about yourself. If you're having any difficulties in your life, just know that it's there to show you the places where you just need to pay attention more. You need to look at yourself more, see the ways where you allow these negative or limiting thoughts and beliefs to continue to run as a software program in your operating system. And the best way to release all that is to just let it go to silence. Let this your inner silence saturate you so there are no thoughts. And in my meditations, the one thing I teach or help you remember is that whenever you're breathing and you have a lot of interior dialogue going on, or you're programming and you become aware of it, all you have to do is try to, when you're breathing in and out, try to breathe so silently you can't hear it. Because when you do that and you try to listen to something that you can hear, your internal dialogue stops and all the programming stops. And when you continue to practice and you go deeper, you train yourself to listen to what you can hear, see and feel the things you can't see and feel. You enter this your temple within, or your sacred space of the heart that reminds you of your potential. And then you feel this inner strength arising inside of you rather than the confusion and lack of focus in your mind when you try to meditate and you just try to silence them when you don't really need to try. You just need to try, you just need to breathe and listen to your breath in a way that you can't hear it. And when you change your focus from the outside to the inside, by doing that, you realize that you've always listened to your internal programming, and you've never been aware that that's all you've listened to. So then you start to forget who you really are, what you're here to do, because this interior dialogue then externalizes itself into physical reality. And then you realize that you're not actually listening to your environment. You're not actually present, because you're only listening to the programming and interior dialogue in your head that's telling you what to do, what to think, feel, see, smell. And it wastes your energy when you do that, because it creates a separation from you and your heart. And if you're always cerebral, always intellectual, you're not actually who you really are. This mind is using you to control your energy into a comfort zone that actually feeds off your energy and creates disease, illness, death, and a lack of belief in self. And so when you meditate, you turn that energy inward. You start to become aware of your programming. You know how to stop it. And then you experience your inner power and potential. And then you can exercise your psychic gifts and create a reality. And you do that over and over and over. And then the inner world becomes your outer, because your shift and your focus is more on your inner path, your inner desires and your inner feelings, all things you can't see. And then that reflects, because the universe reflects what we see, what we put into our imagination, and what we focus on. So if you're focusing on only your interior dialogue and your programming, then your reality will stay in a comfort zone, a loop, just like what the Matrix is about, which is the world of your ego, of this intellect that has to limit itself because this operating system doesn't understand the full potential of why we're here. Or like in any movie, you need a good villain to then realize what you're really capable of. So that's the nature of this reality, is that we have this inherited operating system that is dated, doesn't want anything new or exciting, and it continues to run in loop until you become aware of it. And for me, meditation or playing sports is the best way to become aware of your presence, because you can't think. When you're playing sports, you can't think. You only run on instinct and the present moment. And meditation is the same concept, where you're always so present, because if you're not in the moment, you might have an accident, make a mistake, or do something that isn't, in a way, empowering you. And so I know my philosophy is don't think, just do. And when you are able to do that and really trust yourself, then your reality gets more and more empowering and enlightening and happy and exciting, because you're not limited by this programming that you believe is you, when it's actually not you. This is the false self, and your true self is something you can't see, touch, or feel, or even experience until you go within. And if you guys are, if you like my content, that's kind of like a big picture of what I'm all about and what I try to teach and help explain in terms of your potential, the nature of reality, understanding this video game, the limitations that you have to overcome, and you have to surrender and let go the mind to silence. And that's true awakening, true ascension, because you can't ascend with a operating system that's dated and wants to not live. And the only way to free yourself, to me, is meditation. I'm sure there's other ways of experiencing life and experiencing your own suffering that also will force you to awaken, but there's a gentler, easier, more powerful way to do that with meditation. So I want to leave you today thinking about that, thinking about, all these movies that we all love and cherish, such as, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, all the Marvel movies. They all explain this spiritual hero's journey of becoming aware of your mind, your ego, the voices in your head that limit you, so then you can remember how powerful and the potential you have to overcome it. But you have to train your intellect to be able to battle, and it's like kung fu of the mind, where you're so aware that you can battle these thoughts by not conquering them, defeating them, or killing them, but just being stronger than them, or then they don't become something that you identify with, and just observe them. And when you start that path and that journey, everything becomes a little easier for you, but your entire body has to change. Your entire energy field changes when you have this awakening, because your kundalini that might rest underneath the heart, which is the majority of humanity, has to rise. And when it rises, your ego then tests you to either limit that energy, to bring it down, or control it because it doesn't want it to reach your heart or your crown and your imagination, because then the ego mind doesn't exist anymore. It just becomes a tool for you rather than a master that controls you. And that's where I think a lot of people are at these days, where you're kind of realizing that things are changing in your reality that you can't control. And a lot of people want to control it because that's what their ego has trained them to do and be. So you'll see a lot of emotions, a lot of reactions, rather than people becoming aware of like, oh, there's some challenges that are coming up that are forcing me to become more aware of my heart space or what I really care about and want in this life. And it's only going to continue to question and test you, because that's how you remember how powerful you are. It's like if we were living in a simulation in a game, and all these challenges that are coming to us are of our own creation to remind us of how powerful we are, then you have to realize they're all illusions, like thoughts. Each thought you have is an illusion. And it's a sense that we have called thinkingness that Buddha has talked about as a sixth sense that we have started to identify with, which is an illusion, a lie. It's like, do you identify with your smells? Do you like, oh, that smell I smell outside of you is me? Do I identify with, the things you touch? You're like, oh, I'm touching something. That's me. You're like, it's just an experience that you have. It's not something you identify with. So when you are thinking, you're actually just like, think of it as like you're just smelling something. You're kind of like wasting time just smelling, when really you can just become aware of your thoughts and disconnect from them. You're like, this is just a sense that I have, and then use it to change your frequency and your vibration rather than identify it. And I always say thoughts are like a gun, like in the Matrix. Think of the bullets as thoughts. And the way that Neo dodges them and is able to control them is his power of his training to then stop thoughts, because he knows how powerful he is. He knows that he has training that he can see past the matrix, the mind, and know that these thoughts are something that you can receive rather than feeling attacked. You can stop them with the power of your belief in self. And then once you're able to stop thought, you can start to imagine, because you have more energy, more love, which is what Trinity represents. And this divine triangle, which Trinity represents, is like the connection and the union of your heart and mind rather than the separation. And then you can use your imagination and then exercise your psychic gifts to make that more real than the physical, and then it becomes more real than the physical. Like if there's anything that you want to manifest, like let's say a car, a new job, you have to go through the process where you become aware of your thoughts, learn how to stop them by observing your breath and listening to your breath in so quietly that you can't hear it. So then you can stop that programming, stop that lower stream of mind, and then feel your power, feel that energy rise up to your crown, become aware of your observer, your third eye, then unify that third eye by having a dream, an intention, and then just sit in silence in the void and observe until something appears for you. And usually that is some kind of dream that symbolizes some data that you need to integrate to help you on your path and your evolution. Because that's kind of what I do in my videos. I don't plan anything or create an agenda for any kind of content. I just sit in silence and meditate, and then my ideas come to me. And then I'm guided to books, movies, or things to help explain these complex concepts that resonate with me. And then I have all this energy, and I call it um, kind of like a psychic orgasm, where you just feel a ton of energy, all your psychic senses that you exercise in your mind have this kind of explosion. And then I start crying for, like, most of the time it's for like an hour or two while I listen to music. And then I'm just receiving all this energy, inspiration, and data. And so it causes my body to cry and to shake because it's a ton of energy. And then I integrate it. Usually takes a day or two. And then I'm just guided by something I can't see, by just my intuition. And then I find whatever I need to. And then I'm able to like make these videos in like a day or two, just because I'm so focused and intentional. And then because of that alignment, and I'm so happy and moved by what I'm doing, I usually then manifest a new reality that comes, and I experience as new people, new friends, new experiences, this unknown that then leads to a change in my energy field. And then the universe just reflects what I'm focusing on in my third eye, because that's how this reality works. It reflects what you want to see. But if you're only focusing on your interior dialogue and your programming, you're just going to see a continuation of your past and not the future. And when you meditate, you enter the future. And then I would say your imagination is the fourth dimension. And whenever you practice in that fourth dimension, you send to the fifth dimension. And that creates something new for you that then fractalizes into your consciousness. And your energy and love is what brings it down into matter, which is called gravity. And then this unseen reality that you're creating becomes real with your love, with your gravity, because you're magnetizing it to you from the fifth dimension. And it becomes matter the more that you become one with it, that it's not separate from you. Because I think it's really important to think about your future reality and to know that the only reason why it's not happening is because you believe in the lack of it rather than the experience of it. And I think that's the only thing that you learn when you continue to meditate and focus on what you want rather than what the outside is trying to control you, because it's just a reflection of everyone's internal dialogue and programming. Excuse me, just need a drink. So I hope this information is interesting to you guys. As my mic is falling on me. I just got a new mic, and so it's a little getting used to it is fun. But yeah, I hope this information is interesting to you. I know it's a practical way to exercise your creative gifts, but you have to take the time to really invest in yourself to do this work, because it's not something that you can wait around for something to happen to you. You have to really take control of your life, and that's how you really create your destiny and get on your real life path. Because until you transcend this ego, you're on this path like everyone else is of death. And I just want to read some really interesting information that I wrote for my teacher a little bit ago. And I think for a lot of people, it might be surprising to hear, but I think to me, it's common sense now when I think about what I've learned the past few years. But here it is right now. So this is some knowledge that my teacher has told me over the years that I feel is important to read to you guys, or an interesting little thing to think about today. So our physical appearance is a manifestation of our personality. And with a strong mind and consciousness, you can change your shape and form, because the body is also an illusion, and we are all experiments or shapeshifters. And you can change that illusion by the strength of your consciousness, which we call mind, which is consciousness on the brain. ETs do not think and act like us. We cannot exit this experiment physically. We have to do it with our mind, with our consciousness. And when you are free of personality or the ego that judges and creates separation as a concept like me versus them, men versus women, evil versus good, and when you become free of that and that inheritance of this mind, and what it gives us, like greed, money, ego, the false self, then these ETs will leave you alone. And ETs are actually our children, and they mess with us because we do not know how powerful we are. So they manipulate us until we wake up and become aware of ourselves. And when you are free, when you are fearful or have an ego, they continue to mess with you. And this fear is provoked from the stars in order for you to change and evolve. And when a human is overly sexual, they actually might not be human, but an alien, which is funny because this is also shown in Men in Black films. And our bodies don't vibrate at the same frequency as the universe because we are not prepared to fly in hyperspace. And this is interesting because if you look at all the stuff that Elon Musk is trying to do and leave this reality, we really can't, because the whole purpose of this reality is to basically, we have to become free of control. So trying to do anything physical outside of us is actually not beneficial, because you're not going to ascend if you're trying to do things physically. We kind of live in a simulation that has rules for a reason. And in my experience, if you try to change it without changing yourself, then you'll get killed, because you're wasting your energy fighting against something that is just a concept of a simulation that it's trying to just teach you about you. And so you can't leave this reality until you change. You become greater than it. Because if you could imagine a world without fear, imagine what we could accomplish. That's this new reality that everyone's trying to ascend to, but you can't do it until you change. And Earth is a 0 point of the universe. Reality is a hologram, like a helmet of a biker. It's a screen in front of your eyes. And the only thing we all see together is nature. Everyone else has their own individual reality, and we only see what interests us. So people, places, things, time, and events, we give all these things like jobs to walk because it exists inside of us. And I love this concept because then it explains how powerful we really are. And we project the illusions that either lower or raises our vibration. And the ETs number and tag all of us, meaning we all have these implants, and we are all destined to die until we break through our limitations. And you must remove your tag, your implant, in order to ascend. We are infinite potential. Why now do you not have what you desire? You create lack in order to overcome it. And this is called creation, to want more. And when you miss someone, only gods can have that feeling, this lack of God. And we cannot channel anyone. It is just their imagination. And people create guides out of self-importance. It is just fashionable and a way to make money. You are gods, not guides, so you must listen to yourself. And spiritual gifts are tests to see what you do with it. And if you use it to make money and become famous, your next life will be miserable. And I love this concept because if you watch the new Matrix film, the guy who plays the French, I forget what he calls, the Merovingian or something like that. In the first 3 Matrix movies, you see this guy who's basically in love with his power. And he talks about all these spiritual concepts. But then in the new Matrix, you see the same Merovingian French guy as a bum. And this perfectly represents what I'm talking about, that we are given these spiritual gifts to test what we do with it. Do we do it for good or for self-importance? And so for that character, he took this spiritual gifts that he had, this knowledge, and only used it to make money and gain power. And if you see this in spiritual communities, this is a real thing. And the thing that's interesting to me is that if you're aware of this and the power that your ego wants from the spiritual knowledge, it creates a spiritual ego. But then your next life, it's going to be miserable and horrible because that's not what you're here to use those gifts for. And think about that when you watch the Matrix movies, because that's why I think that character you see in the new ones as a bum or someone who's a completely different lifestyle and a little crazy, because that's this karma that you now have. You think that you're living a more spiritual, blissful life, but you're not aware of the power and this wanting that power, because it actually is from a place of lack. Because if you really have these spiritual gifts and you really are complete and whole within yourself, you don't need to become anything. You don't need power. You don't need money. You can just create instantly whatever you desire because you're already complete and whole. And so the karma of that is the experience of that, of being a bum, of being, someone who's on the street that has this sense of lack because that's what they judged in their past life. Because all these people with power, all these people with influence, that you can feel that, it doesn't really come from a heart-centered place, but more of a egotistical, self-centered place. That's them judging people like that are homeless, they aren't in belief with themselves, and so they become whatever they judge. Because I think whatever life that you're in right now, that you're experiencing, is because you judged it in a past life. So you have to experience it, because you wouldn't be experiencing it if it wasn't in your field, if it wasn't a part of you. So look at all the people in your reality, look at yourself, and realize that that's only there because you used to judge that. That's something you've neglected in some past lives or even this life, and it's only coming up to remind you that you need to stop judging those things. You need to let that all go so you can be whole and take that energy from that lack and do something new with it. Receive more energy so you can do more work, you can express yourself more, you can think that, know that you're capable of more. And I'll continue with some more knowledge. Never do damage to yourself or your body. Never let a lower state take over you, especially right now. You get thoughts from non-physical beings as thoughts because we live in kind of like this middle earth where we have access to higher dimensional non-physical beings and lower dimensional non-physical beings. And we experience that as voices or thoughts or inspiration. We all have infinite potential and wonderful greatness, which is no good or bad, just pure creation. And only 20% of people have a soul. The rest is just matter, or non-player characters, background people. And you have to really think about this, because if you identify with the mind, your ego, these thoughts as me, you don't have a soul. Your soul is not able to express itself. And you're running on a loop that's programmed, and it keeps you from not doing what you're here supposed to do by expressing your soul, by the power of your higher emotions and intelligence. So this was something that was hard for me to hear at first, because my teacher actually questioned all of us and be like, are you here as a human being, or are you a matrix person? Are you not as real as you actually think? Because you can still experience this reality without a soul, but then you don't add anything to it. You're just here as a program. And the Matrix does an amazing job talking about this concept, that without a soul, then you are a program. And if you don't have a purpose, then your only experience of life will be death, because you don't have a purpose. And the thing that's really interesting and powerful for me about this knowledge and information is that, when you are in the heart chakra, you stop aging. And this is my studies of Buddhism and ancient knowledge and shamanism, Tantra. And if you think about that and you look at all these so called spiritual people in the world, and not to judge or limit them or make them feel less, you just have to realize that there's not a lot of people in their heart chakra, even the people that preach this information. So I think it's just an interesting thing to think about when you are discerning this reality. If you have a rational mind, you don't have a soul, and irrational minds are souls. And in 2012, time doesn't exist anymore. It's just an illusion, because 3 to 7 billion realities appeared out of nowhere, like a merging of realities. And that's why so many people have zero purpose in their lives. There were 7 timelines that converged on top of each other. And today, already 2 billion have already disappeared regarding timelines and people. And the sun emits cosmic radiation nonstop. And these rays of sun fry everything. But between the sun and earth, it is very dark and cold. Your phone is just an illusion. We are actually all telepathic, and the device is just a way to record everything. And I love this concept because I always tell everyone, it's like, we already are telepathic. We're just using these devices, this technology, to record it. And I think that's fascinating and amazing, because then if you can really contemplate on that, there's so many other things that we can have access to, that we can create, and just use this idea of matter to express it. That's how this reality works. Everything is spirit, and it is with your tools and your architect, which is your imagination, is how you can turn spirit into matter. And it's the whole concept of mind over matter, but everyone's kind of living into this limited state of matter over mind, not knowing that you actually create what you see. And these device actually turns our spiritual world into words, into websites, into a search engine, into YouTube videos. And each device has a small part from ETs, and all technology that we experience and have is from the ETs. There are now 144 mystery schools appearing for those who want to ascend, to basically learn what I'm sharing with you. And when a student is ready, a master appears. And this was 100% my experience. When I was ready, my teacher appeared and taught me all this information in a short amount of time. And it really helped me to wake up from the illusion, these thoughts, and this inheritance of this human mind. And to really think about this inheritance in a simple way is watch Game of Thrones. That show symbolizes this character inheriting this war, all these limiting realities. And for us to disconnect from that is to basically like have all that end and die. And so like this whole conquering and exiting the matrix is violent, is painful and emotional, because that's what it is. And so you have to face that pain, but know that when you feel that pain, it frees you and then releases a ton of energy that then you can create with. And it's very similar to what I say, like giving birth, because I think women know that experience, and that experience of creating reality is very similar, where you have to, you have to experience some emotional pain, because that's your entire being, physically, spiritually, and emotionally changing in order to create something new. You can't have the same state of consciousness and being when you're creating something new. So you have to completely change, like a caterpillar and butterfly, and know that when you're in that stage and process of evolution and transformation, it's going to be emotionally and like all the cells of your body has to change. So you experience that as emotions, as emotional pain, as a release, because that energy is disconnecting from the neurons that are holding that reality into place and connecting to new ones. So you have to experience that disconnect as emotional pain. So that energy can connect to a new reality and new neurons that then lock in with your focus and your intention, and then everything that is not aligned to that new reality dissolves and dies and changes. And that's why don't be afraid of emotional pain or change and chaos, because that's just showing you that things are changing for you for the good. And you just have to be strong enough to experience that emotional pain, knowing that that's just how this reality affects us. The consequence of these neurons disconnecting and reconnecting is just the process of emotional pain. And if you can handle that pain, for me, it's something that I can easily handle and transmute because I'm an artist. I know that process. In order to create something new as a photograph or a painting, I have to enter my imagination and trust in something I can't see, and just continue to try and try and try until it becomes real. And I know sometimes whenever I try something at first, I fail or I make a mistake. So then I have that emotional pain, knowing that like, oh, I'm trying to create something I can't see. So of course I'm going to fail. Of course I'm going to have mistakes. Of course it may not go exactly the way I see it or plan, but in the end, you have to just continue to create and try, because then that's what makes that reality happen for you quicker and faster. Is it's the whole process of belief in self. And you reach new states of that the more you start to believe in yourself. And the belief comes from something within, because once you start believing in yourself, you have more faith, you're able to follow that rather than what your mind is telling you. Then reality will start to reflect that, and you'll meet more people that want to work with you, that desire to connect to you and create something on a deeper level, which I think all of us are here to do. But it takes a lot of practice and time to get that confident in yourself, because confidence is a huge vibration. It's a huge level of consciousness. And until you get to that place of high flying feeling tones, is what I call it, and that confidence, then you have to start working on yourself until you start believing in yourself that whatever you desire to do every day, that you can do it. And whatever challenges that come up, you can, when you tell yourself, I can do this, it's much more of a potent vibration than the feeling that you can't. And then you keep practicing it. You'll have new stages of your evolution where you reach new levels of belief in self. And once you have that belief in yourself, it's like you're in love with yourself so much, because you have the joy and experience of creating whatever you focus on, that you become so confident because there's nothing to fear. You know that whatever you put in your mind, you will experience. And because the mind is in harmony, then it becomes your savior, and everything that you want to create, you just know that there'll never be a low moment again, because you can never go back. You can never go back to a lower state of consciousness, a lower state of being, because you have integrity. You're more whole and complete than you've ever been. So you can never go back. You can never have that fear of having those lower experiences of reality. And then you know that you are in a constant state of creation. You're constantly aware that what you think and intend and believe will come true, because you're so in harmony with yourself. And that's all I'm trying to share in my meditations in this talk today. I hope you really learned something out of this or enjoyed it. Please leave a comment if this was something that was interesting to you, or something that maybe I can continue to dive in a little bit more deeper. I did create a bunch of films based on the symbolism of Top Gun Maverick that is about this concept, about understanding the spiritual, astral, psychic world, whole dimension that we can't see but experience every day in terms of thoughts and beliefs and emotions. Because, can you show me a thought? Can you show me a personality? Can you show me a belief or intention? These are all things we can't see, but it is you. So you have to become aware of that. And when you watch those films about Top Gun Maverick, the symbolism is about your belief in yourself. And the process to get there is by experiencing these descending and ascending arcs of matter, of then also training yourself to realize the things that are stopping you, which are like, the process of becoming aware of yourself, looking at the facts of why things don't happen for you, integrating that, and then working on it so it changes for you. Because I think that's a training. Not a lot of people want to become aware of the facts that keep you from the reality that you want. Everyone wants to protect their ego at all costs, but until you can surrender and let go of that, you're going to stay in a loop. You have to surrender and let go of the mind. You have to not protect your ego. It's kind of like you have to, in order to win, you have to lose. The beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning. That's what the Matrix taglines are about. The beginning is the end of your ego, because that end is then your beginning to live into your true path and your true destiny. So to help with the knowledge of the psychic and astral world, I was guided to make those films for Top Gun Maverick, and I hope you have the time to watch that and to learn about the polarities of the mind, how we experience this astral psychic world, the way you can train yourself to become more aware of yourself, so your consciousness is like a fighter jet that is able to be commanded with a pilot that is fully aware of the nature of the universe, of the psychic world. So then you can use these laws of this nature to then overcome it, to achieve, to create the dreams that you are focusing on. And yeah, let me know what you think about them. I would love to continue to have more discussions like this with all of you. And I just felt like sharing why I love to meditate and why I love to do this work and what it can do for you. This non-doing, it's so much more powerful than thinking that you have to just do things. So I hope you guys like this content. You guys enjoyed this conversation. I know I kind of rambled a lot. I just woke up very excited and empowered and wanted to share. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And I hope to do more with you guys. So yeah, leave comments, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe or join my membership so you can experience these meditations and really experience it. Because I've been doing it for over 7 years, 9 years, finessing it, practicing it, and doing it. And I've even introduced it to a lot of my friends in Colorado here, and it's already working for them in magical ways. But they also are experiencing the chaos of changing your consciousness, the fear of letting go and surrendering. But because I've experienced it, I'm able to help guide them through it with less fear, less dread, and less control, because I've done it. And I think that's super helpful to know that if something can teach you something because they've done it, they can guide you in the places of discomfort and not so great feelings, but to know that like something amazing can happen because of this, just because of meditating. And all the power that you have is inside of you. You don't need anything. All you need to do is practice how to exercise your creative capacities, your psychic gifts. So then whatever you put into your third eye, your imagination, and you unify that matrix by, imagining that to be more real than the physical, well, then it becomes real. then there's literally nothing to fear. Everything outside is an illusion. It is a it is the things that you've neglected that you just need to look at, and they're not as scary or real as you think. And I know it's like easier said than done, but I'm continued to talk about this, to preach this, because I've experienced it and lived it. So I think that'll help anyone that is unsure of what they need to do right now. And the hardest thing is just to confront your ego and to surrender and let that go, because a lot of people think it's your best friend when really it's not. It's a construct of this reality to help you remember who you really are by helping you to forget. And we have to experience the lack of love so then we remember what love really is, what energy is, what creation is. And you wouldn't have this desire inside of you unless you were a creator and you had a soul. So let's all come together and realize how powerful we are and how we can create change in this reality by just changing your state of being and consciousness, and start working on little things that you want to manifest, because then it builds motivation, momentum for bigger things. So thank you guys again so much. Please don't forget to share, subscribe my channel and my content, and let me know of any feedback, any other content that you would love to see more or learn more about and talk about, to help you get to this place of knowing and confidence, so that you exit this matrix, this lower states of being, and never be controlled by it again. And that's my purpose here, is to help you get to that place in a fun, easy, graceful way, and then have the confidence to then create whatever reality that you desire. So thank you guys again, and hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and feel free to contact me, email me, and don't forget to join the 58 membership so you can experience your true self, this power that you have inside, with my guided meditations and the art of non-doing. So thanks guys, and talk